Okay, Programming 11, we got another thing to work on now, and that's going to be making our buttons tactile. So what does that mean? Basically, in a graphic user interface, the way that buttons and other interactable things show you that they're clickable is that when you mouse over them, they highlight. It's just true. Like if you look in processing, that doesn't necessarily show up when I click it, but look, the word debug shows up over here. If I do my mouse over, like something changes. You notice that when I put my mouse over these things, they glow like a different color. They go blue. And you can find that in a lot of programs. There's some kind of thing interacts. At least well-designed programs. Oh look, those glow too. Let's see, do these? Oh, these light up as well. This is just a standard thing that was invented, a long time ago when people were trying to figure out how do we make virtual interfaces that will feel natural to people. So that's called making a button tactile. So here's an example of it. I'm just changing the stroke colors of the buttons when my mouse goes over. And it really gives you the sense that like, yeah, oh yeah, look, I can interact with those things. And I can see that I can't interact with this thing because it doesn't change in any way. So it's a way of indicating, that type of thing. So let's take a look and see how we can program that in. The math is all pretty clear, or at least it's no different than the math we use to make it clickable. We're going to compare the distance from the center to the mouse and see if it's less than the radius. But this time we're going to do it in the draw function. So, basically I want to choose what stroke. I want to be like, well, do I do stroke white, which is 255? Actually, I'm going to go put in that as a color. So I'm going to say color white, and I'm going to say that is 255, which happens to be, weirdly enough, FFFFF. Bunch of Fs. So paying respects, I guess. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure. There's a long story, but basically, FF is 255 in hexadecimal. So we're saying 255 for red, green, and blue. And so we're getting lots of all the colors, combined together to make white. So we're gonna go now and we're gonna kind of when we go to make our button, we want to choose like, do we do stroke white or do we do stroke dark? What do I got? Darkest brown. We want to make that choice between the two colors. And to make a choice in programming requires us to do an if statement. So an if statement is pretty straightforward. We've been doing them already. And this if statement is going to look remarkably like this if statement. Actually, exactly the same as the if statement to make the buttons clickable. So much so that I think I'll just copy and paste it. So I'm going to say, hey, if our mouse is within 50 pixels of this center point, then I need to set the stroke to white. So notice I have my brace here, so I'm going to close my brace there. I press Control T, by the way, to auto indent these things. Okay, so that's if we are touching the button. Now, how do you write an if statement to say if we're not touching the button? Well, there's actually an easier way. An if statement can have sort of two modes. You can say, if this is true, then this is what you do. And then you can say, else, if it's false, do something else. Do this. So the else statement allows us to say, if this statement was false, here's how we're going to handle it. If it's true, we already have an if statement, the first part that handles the truth condition. This handles the false condition. So, hey, look at that. Now, we'll either stroke it with this color or we'll stroke it with that color, depending on whether we're there or not. So, oh, look, it changes all the colors. What's happening? Well, it did work. At least we can say it definitely worked for this one. But why do the colors bleed over into all of them? So the answer is that, look, we don't have any other strokes in here. There's no other strokes. The stroke I had was originally in the setup. And now there's only one stroke. So if we stroke white, it's going to affect everything afterwards. If we stroke darkest brown, it's going to affect everything all the way down. So we just need to put in our own sort of other strokes just to like keep this from getting out of control. I'll just put in a stroke darkest brown here so we can see it just affecting. Oh, wait, wrong place. I'll put it for the medium button. and we can see that now it only affects this one. And there's this stroke here that's affecting all the other ones down below. Okay, so that's making a button tactile. We've got a little bit more to do though. I'd like to make this button tactile and this button tactile. So you could like take this and copy and paste it to the next one and change the numbers to be appropriate. So I can do that. I mean, it's not too bad, right? I can paste it. Whoops, I guess I didn't copy it. I'll try again. Copy, paste, change this to 100, 300 to match this button. And then go down to the next one, the dark brown one, and paste, and now it's 100, 500. So I can apply it to this one. And then, yes, it works. Yes, it works. I think the stroke will spill over here. So we'll have to remember before we do the square that we protect it with its own stroke, specifically for the square, darkest brown, so it doesn't spill over onto the square. 1, 2, 3. Ho ho! It's working very nicely. This is getting a little bit fat though. Our draw function doesn't have much in it, but it's got so much code. This if statement, and this code is quite repetitive, isn't it? Like this piece of code versus this piece of code, just the y coordinate changed. So it's a shame to have such repetitive code. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how we can make that into a function so that we don't have to keep repeating ourselves. There's a phrase in programming called "don't repeat yourself" or "dry." So you want your code to be dry, which stands for like don't repeat yourself. Don't DRY. Don't repeat yourself. So don't have repetitive code if you can help it. So check that out in the next video.